Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are live for our 111 portal for 2024. This is crazy to think that we are saying these numbers and these words all together to actually believe that you have come this far. So, we are going to be talking about some bigger themes on this special day. This day is specifically all about new beginnings, which is ironic and perfect for all of our layers of 2024 and what you probably all have experienced for ending 2023 and having this holy whammo jammo of 2024 already. So 11 days in, what we have experienced or had to traverse has been big words being used lately, but it's literally on this layer of how are we going to reclaim our whole purpose, our destiny in 2024. So, we have some keywords that have been very specifically popping in our atmospheres lately. And we want to really talk about this word about responsibility. Now, responsibility is pretty large on how we want to define these things. But when we are narrowing it down to our roots, there is something that through the 11 days of conversation, we have realized a lot of people have wanted to ask for change, wanting change, needing change, but there is this aspect of taking responsibility for this change. So, with today being the new moon, there is a lot of that Capricorn theme of ramming into this basis, but there's also about the balance that has to come into this and understanding what are your assured footsteps, what are your responsibilities, these platforms you're going to stand on, and understand how much of a soapbox are you going to be preaching, or are you actually going to get your hands dirty this year and actually do the work. Now, a lot of people have said, Shanice, I have been doing the work. Why do I still feel this way? Why is it still happening this way? Why? We want to cut that layer and ask, how come? Not why, because why is that seeking, that needing, that hunting? We want to ask in that groundedness, where is this coming from? What is trying to be the squeaky wheel and take that responsibility in ourselves? Because without that responsibility, you are going to get nowheres. And I'm sorry to say this, but this is literally the aspects that we have been dealing with for centuries, eons, the existence of the big kaboom, of however you want to believe we've got here. You have a destiny, you have a responsibility. So you will always hear this theme about destinies and purposes and all this different layer popping up in our talks throughout this year, because it's literally the call. It's the layer that you are now ready to set up and be responsible for why you, as a soul essence being, experience, star, whatever layers you want to call it, are here today. So get in the driver's seat, get in this reality that you have to reclaim what has been left behind. So when we take that responsibility, you don't just hop in and start the vehicle and start driving. You want to inspect the area. That's where your whys are coming from, but there's not a consistency on how you are doing your checks and balances on your ground reviews. So we really want to touch base in today. When you are manifesting, we are at the peak of it. So we will be ending at 1 o'clock in the morning and 11 minutes. So really understanding, how do you want to curate your ground inspections. So before you get up, how do you actually want to really take responsibility on your days, on your actions, on your words, on your perceptions and projections and expectations for everybody else to be processing this layer? Now, when you have that, understanding that structure, then you're going to allow yourself to really bring in the basis of that order and balance. So, when we talk about those layers and those words, right, we really need to know that there's going to be some things that aren't going to be strong enough, feasible, flexible, working enough to have that boundary a part of this. And that's where you're going to see tons of chaos really trying to um, ask for your attention, and you're not going to find out the real um, durability, the maybe velocity or viscosity of your different structures that you've been working on to really understand how are they going to actually work with you. And you're going to find this in your family structures huge this year, because a lot of people are going to try and say, hey, I need you to do this. I want you to do this. I expect you to be this. And a lot of people in 2023 were trying to do this gentle, or this is how we want to work together. This is what's going to be important. Now there's going to be this like harshness. Either you're in or you're out. And that's going to be okay in some aspects, but you're going to have to really still grow and expand, because this year is the wood year, that we are going to be really asking to root in what you're growing and standing and expecting your surroundings to provide for you. And remember, you're going to get caught if you have all these expectations that family's going to be there, friends are going to be there, work's going to be there, school's going to be there. Um, your needs and accommodations for the world's easy access is going to be there. You really need to hone in on what do you actually need and why do you need it in that tone. So if you want easier accessibility on connections, family, your feelings, your emotions, your bodies, then you really have to come back into saying, why do you need it so easy? What is a inner child wound or a wounded warrior wound asking out of you to make it easier? Because 9 times out of 10, we are the root cause to that chaos or that hurt or that manipulation, because we had wishes, expectations, different definitions of how we wanted everybody to really step up and be a part of the team and act in the group and be a part of the bigger purpose and destiny. And when you have that, a lot of people are going to feel sometimes judged, they feel ran over, they feel pressured, they feel misunderstood. This layer of disconnect really will show in your structures and how you want to order your connections and your work and your access to your higher purpose in this year. So, with that, definitely be posting some questions or comments, because that will definitely help to bring in either aspects that you want to understand of these different topics we're talking about. Then that way I can definitely give you guys more deeper examples in your personal lives. So that is where we'll talk about the next layer about um, really understanding your patience in this work. This year is going to try and blow your top off on your anger, your wounds, your manipulations, your excuses, your lies. There's so many things that it is going to try and knock out. And that's going to be big for you realizing today, how do you want to be communicated? How do you want to be um, supported? How do you want to be loved? Because without these layers, you're not going to understand how people are going to be supporting you because you haven't conducted or constructed or ordered something in a layer that your surroundings can understand. And we will have a bunch of minions just bebobbing and boo-bobbing around you, and you'll get frustrated and then you'll just get angry. And that's where this miscommunication is going to be happening throughout this phase of January. Because again, for anybody who has journeyed with me in our niche, my year memberships, January is all about the year of join. It's the year of figuring it out. What do we have? Taking inventory. What's going to be a part of this? What's not? How are we going to join in this next year that our society is just put together? So we really start our years in October, but it allows us to understand that this is what we are now having to deal with, what we're joining in with. So after that, you're going to see your patience really being tested, but it's okay to maybe have that layer of frustration or I feel like I failed or I didn't say it right or I didn't do it right. There's going to be a lot of those purgings that go on because there's so much of the people pleasing energy that's been shaking out that people are really starting to heal and recover from this societal pressure to always be something and do something and have something. And we just kind of sometimes get stuck in the reeds and we tried to swim up current and just got caught and frustrated and tired. And instead of being just bear bait and some other food source for somebody else on our failures, we then just decided to go with currency or the current of being a part of everybody else's missions for a little while, just for a little while, we say. And then it just starts to exponent um be exponential on what we really layer and start to realize, oh shit, I can't really get out of this way. Like this current's even harder to swim against because we see that there's so many people that are trying to get out of this, but who's actually doing it right? What's the way that's going to be important? How are we going to actually do this? So there's going to be a lot of that questioning, but again, patience is going to be the virtue. And how you're going to do that is preserving and the layer of 2024 reclaiming what's pure. And the acronym that I posted on our post today was this layer of PURE. So, to help you understand what you're going to need to do in this layer of really standing in your pure essence or pure intention, you're going to have to layer in these 4 factors, the acronym of pure, to help really navigate what this is going to be in your success of your heart or your soul's essence of that purity. So, P is for purge. You are going to have to look around in your point of views and really understand what you need to purge. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to get rid of this friend, or oh, I'm going to get rid of my wardrobe, or oh, I'm going to get rid of the clutter in my house. That's all fine and dandy if you are just trying to scratch at the surface, but understand what are you trying to truly purge um, on that layer of what you've taken in. So understand your point of view of what you're purging. Now, let's use the friend example. That friend has been around through thick and thin. We've been important to work together. It's really been something that we thought we would have for a lifetime. And now I'm just not feeling the same of that excitement or that energy or that purpose with each other. So now we're going to get into this layer of, okay, what is this friendship really going to need to be? So you start to have some conversations, or you just start to kind of define what your friendship is, and you have these open conversations with the person. If you see that the person is still trying to grasp for that old version of ourselves, or that old um feeling of who we really were in the wounded states of our experience or our connections, I find this so much in myself, clients, people. There's so many layers that when we were hurt or we were wounded and we had the support teams when we were a part of that certain time or that phase or that journey of our life, we really start to yearn for what is important to us. And then we start to feel guilty because we're not going to be that same version or phase of ourselves. So then you have two ways that the purging happens. There's people who just start to silently drift off and disconnect and remove themselves and come inward, or you have people that are trying to be expressive. Some people will state it as you're trying to blow the shit out of the water, and you're going to start expanding outwards and really saying, like, this isn't what I wholesomely want to feel anymore. And I don't think I can continue moving forward in that. So when you're purging, there's going to be multiple ways, layers, and actions you're going to see this, and it's not going to be clean. So please understand, have kindness, and express that to the people when you're ready to this phase of discovery. And in that layer of purging, you really want to clarify with people. This isn't about um what's not good enough for me anymore. This isn't about you don't do the same things that we used to. We all change. But the root of it is that I am not feeling that pure connection and meaning the way that I feel and know I want to be connected with family, friends, or love or work, right? So when you're purging, it's about very strong I feels. And this is what is important to me so that I'm not being less than to you. And it's not you, this is me. That's not how we want to excuse or manipulate these conversations because it leaves that other person hanging. You want to really bring in that clarity of saying, yes, you have helped and validate that experience of what was important at that time, but you are starting to realize that that's not the support you need. This is the way I would like to be supported. If this is something that friendship, family, or person can successfully hold that space as, then great. But you then have to ask for that boundary to be respected. And it's easy for people to slip back in the old ways and ourselves as well, because we're just so used to feeling in that comfort. So it's going to take time. And that's why these winters are really about that introspection, sitting within self, the darkness, the shorter days, all of this cold that just snapped in our Alberta, Canada's weather right now. So it's really telling you to nestle in after this huge burst of a Christmas holiday. So that is your P, and I can absolutely help you more on that journey and to dive deeper into the P, and we'll do some definite definition referrals so that that can help you kind of track what your progress is in your pure phase. So now we're going to work into our U. And you is a really important factor because this is where you have to come united with your higher self, you. So you for you. And when you unite your authentic self back in this body and your voice and your actions and your what you see and your perceptions, you're really going to see a lot of stuff phase in or phase out. You're going to see a lot of comfort foods maybe not really making you feel comfortable anymore. So many people have been talking about their digestion and how they don't feel like they're being fulfilled by food or their connections anymore. Going out isn't fun anymore. A lot of people who went through this holiday season really said that they are sick and tired of the overwhelming pushing themselves past the way that they wanna feel, and they felt like they didn't really honor and they feel sometimes deflated on how their holidays went, and as you're processing that, it's really important to come back into this layer and understand, what did you need? What did you not listen to? What did you really have to take accountability for to understand how does that look like? And as you're working through that purging, really coming back to that essence of you, then you're going to really see why this layer has been just maybe where you've been stuck in this halfway point on your really purest version voice and products, maybe not making the success and the kapow you wish this movement and change of yourself was going to look like. So when I come back to this you point, this has been a really huge theme that's been popping up lately for people. You have been you the whole time. This whole thing about you've changed, you're different, you're um less of you, you're more of you, you're different of you, like all these versions that our world has been monopolizing on you to really try and rediscover, redefine, repurpose, redo what you are. And that's not the point of you. You came with a purpose. You came with that essence and that mission, that destiny. We don't say these words of destiny for nothing. This was your crystal, your treasure, your seed, your map, your discovery, your manual of who and what you need to be. So in this transformation, personal discovery, self-help industry, healing industry, watching how everything has been coming through and what is the difference between when we were younger to when we are in the wounded phases of ourselves, then that reclamation phase of ourselves to essencing back into what really is us, who you are. You will see a direct mirror or even just the actual person from the beginning to the end was really that person all along the way. They just had to experience and sample and expose their purity into this world and come back into that essence of really knowing what is real. So that's why we love children, we love the elders, we love the wisdom, we love the innocence. That all comes back from that exact same person, just as that experience had to integrate into what you really understood about why you made people laugh the way you used to as that innocent kid. Because when it was purely you and you were that essence, maybe you made jokes or you danced or you had so much inspiration for certain things. When we figure out how we get validated throughout these wounded phases of ourselves, it really starts to curate a whole other layer of trying to keep seeking that validation. So once you're old enough and finished your woundedness and processed these layers and trying to reclaim this back, and we come to that wisdom and that essence of knowing that this is really why I was trying to seek for that validation, or this is why I was working so hard to find this cause or this root or this invention or this work that I do, you then start to realize who you are. And that's where nobody can take that away from you because it is so embedded in you. You just need to take space. You need to take time. You need to take a break from everything else that you're trying to seek this validation in And this is why I tell people you cannot heal who you are in the same ecosystem, habits, work, relationship sometimes on what that is the real pure version of you is trying to do, because you're still in those validation loops, good, bad, or ugly, that you are still trying to validate that experience that took away your purity. So hopefully that kind of resonates a bit deeper with you, why I say this, that you need to take that space away from either the partnership or that job or that relationship with family, friends, what you are in your community. It's toxicity that people keep staying in that space to then realize what it is they're actually needing or wanting to do. Now, I'm not trying to say that we're a bunch of giver uppers and free for allers and all these different things. You have to make the roots of why this is important to have that transition. Sometimes you're not going to move out of that community, but you might just isolate. You might just come within. You might do all these different layers. But then if you're going to use it in a sulking or sabotaging program, to just feel like, oh, I need to do this because this is what Shanice said. No, that's again, you're trying to validate woundedness. Find your fucking purity. Find out what is really asking you to be true to. So then that way, when you get into our next two letters and you are on the top of the hill in between the U and the R, then you're going to understand how the purity really needs to be into that next word. And that is going to be about the rootedness, how you are here in the rootedness and the results of that purity. Because if you don't have the ability to understand the roots of it, you are not going to understand why you're standing for it, why you act like this, why your purpose is this. So R is for the roots and results. So when you're doing that, that's where our theme of this year, reclaiming, needs to come in, because we are working on that discovery of what has been from the sample of a pure. When we talk about our reclamation end of things, the schooling I took in environmental was, you look at the native, the indigenous, the start, the key, the foundation, the cloth of where you come from. And then you go back and you sample, where are you at right now in this site of where you've struggled, where has been loss, where has been defeat, where has been anger or not resolved situations, what's just been a landfill in your space. And that's where we talk about that phase one, and we layer into this discovery in this interview of what your roots are. So that's why you have to then go back to family and say, why did this happen this way? Or I've gone through therapy, I've gone through sessions, I've done a pilgrimage, I've done a ceremony or whatever layers of healing that you've been processing. You have to then go back with that information and ask questions. And if you're going to get responses of, well, because you were just that way, or you didn't want to hear anything from anybody else, or you just keep hitting all of these different, sometimes maybe you were the problem, or you were this, or you were that, just pause and really understand what's being said out of that. And sometimes it's because you were the trigger to somebody's unstable structure, and they didn't know how else to work with you, to connect with you, to process with you. So they just made you the root problem. They made you to be this experience. And what we talked about earlier, you took that responsibility on. You then said, okay, my pure essence of me singing and dancing and making a lot of kerfuffle was a problem. I upset my entire family. So I dimmed my light. I took that responsibility that I'm the problem. I took that on. And then I said, okay, so I will be the shutdown person. I will hunch in and I won't be this light anymore. So then you continue going on to these jobs, relationships, new careers, new ideas, trying to get into school if you are just finishing out of your grade school process. And then you realize that you started to choose a career or a relationship or health habits or body habits because you started to become the root that you didn't want to be this person anymore. And you started to live these double lives. We see that all the time, that there's certain people that you're around, you'll start acting a certain way versus other places that you want to be a certain way. So then you start becoming separate of yourself. And just like strawberries, yes, we have rhizomes of a different where we're rooted in our one plant, we start to grow another runner out into another plant and create another place we're starting to plant ourselves. And yes, you can be doing that. And I've done that for thousands of years, it feels like, that you had this different versions of yourself out in different spaces, but then you're exhausted. Then you don't have the rootedness of really who you are and the R word. And then you start to become just relevant. You don't become anything important sometimes to the collective or to a space because you're just trying to live in all these different phases or versions or aspects of you because there's little bits of you everywhere. So it's safe now. It's like putting everything out into a treasure chest and you are pushed out far enough in different directions that you'll never lose the whole essence of yourself. So we keep living that for anywheres from a few days to existences. There's people that have lived this way that I've sat at the deathbed with, and they said, I wished I would have not been just some aversion for somebody else. So your R is a pretty big commitment and responsibility where we really come into that layer because it's easy in the purging stage to be very um how can I say, to be like a noodle. You can be a cooked noodle that you're just wiggling everywhere and just saying whatever you need to say, or you can be an uncooked noodle and just snap and break at certain points of it. So it's easy to just be this ungrounded version of yourself when you're purging. And then you get to yourself and you ground in, you meditate, you cleanse, you go for ceremonies, you do therapy, you do a walkabout, a hunt, a journey, a quad trip, whatever this layer is, horsebacking into the mountains. You do all these layers to find out, okay, yep, this is where I'm grounded. This is my responsibility. This is my vow to myself. But then after that, you start to realize that there's a root to this as soon as you get back. And so you have to understand, how are you going to really act on that? How are you going to actually eat differently now, or the way that you wanted to eat, or the way that was important to you to sing and dance and express and be? And then you have to then, to be really immersed into that, you're going to have to get into your E. And this is one of the, I feel sometimes toughest, to really understand that you're enough and that you are the 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 energy, the equivalence, the the entirety of this E word. And you have to know that this is everything that you are. You are it. And this is where so many people start to kind of play I say that play the cat and mouse game, that they want to be connected to the world. They want to become this way in this experience, but this is where you must really evolve and understand that you are the ether of this. You are the asking and the everything and the nothingness of it, so that you have the ability to elevate, to have that next layer of understanding your equivalence to what is bigger and smaller of this entire world. So E is of everything. You really need to know that this is everything that is a part of it. And you need to then elevate yourself into that. So I hope that really brings in that awareness of why pure is such a big word. And when we break it down this way, it's of everything. It is of the good, the bad, the evil, the ugly, the bad, the person that you think is always the bad guy in your stories. You have to understand it is of everything, because without you realizing these journeys of exploring, then you can't be really you. So when you go through that E of everything, then you finally understand what you will explore and what you will express. Okay. And that is where everybody starts to second guess themselves on, okay, but how do I actually be this everything? How do I actually be what I was chalked up to be now after all these years? You have to understand that there's a lot to the E, and it's sometimes hard to when I was channeling um this acronym, it really said that it is of everything, and I said, "'Kay, but there's not enough direction to that." And they're like, "Exactly, because you are it. You are this expression. You have to explore it, to endure it, to, expand on it, to have the abilities to be it." So that's where I hope you can now kind of navigate through this acronym when you're trying to really get to that root of what you are and what you need. It will hopefully bring you that balance of just navigating your essence and knowing that you have not changed. You've just taken a lot in and didn't do the work to let all of it go. And that's why so many people say when you forgive, when you let it go, when we do the Ho'oponopono, when we do these layers of releasing and allowing that decay of what we had to hold in and sponge up our entire existence, you feel exhausted, you feel wrung out, you feel dried up, you don't feel like you have a purpose or a place or that oomph anymore. And it's because you didn't have that space to really maybe sometimes grow into that. And observing so many people throughout my life, understanding the deepest human need and wish that somebody comes on this earth for is literally that they want to go to heaven. They want to be validated that they did a good job in this lifetime. And when you see people with addictions, and I mean all layers of addictions, it's a crutch or a shadow or a cloak to just keep them from feeling like they are pure, because now they can't say they didn't do this, or they can't say they never thought of things this way, or they can't say that we didn't do something to get in this reaction of it. And then we become addicted to just being revalidated. And that's what I deeply believe our roots of addictions come from, is that you're yearning to be pure again, and you know you've done actions that you can't be pure again, because now you have to say, I have done this, I am this, I've been there, and now you just don't know how you can be this child again. But that child was to be the warrior armor for that essence's journey and to show you how to live purely as that child. And some don't get to make it. They they are miscarriages. They are SIDS. They are orphaned. They are then we get into older stages, then there's death and early on child diseases and loss that takes away that pureness. And then it gets into the later areas of mental health and suicides and um accidents and all these different layers that come through that innocence phase. And the older people then look at it and say, I can't believe that person went so quickly, or they were too young, or they didn't live their best life yet, and they didn't get to do this, and they didn't get to do that. And there's so much to that statement when I'm working with people about grief, trauma, or processing those layers, because that soul had a mission. And if that soul already understood that they were able to live their purest, and when they say the good die young, it's because they lived a pure essence. They did what they needed to do. They didn't need a long life to validate that this was good, bad, or an ugly way that they did it. They literally needed to be everything, and they do get to be everything, and nobody really got to hinder that. And you got to experience that. You got to embrace that. And that's why the E is such a big ending, because of all these different words. It's everything. And that's when then you see people that literally should not have had a good had a chance to live another life or take another breath, or there's other people that deserve to live longer than that person. I hear that all the time. And I tell people that death is not a punishment. It's not about you congratulating at the end and saying, but you have to be destroyed now. It's literally that it's you did the work that needed to be done, and that soul says thank you, and it's now time to be released, to be a part of everything. And we get so scared and so septic about, did we do enough, did we act enough, did we respect enough, did we love enough, did we be enough? And then we start to become in this victimness of this whole layer of why we have to then look at purging and then figure out who we are, and then we come into the root of it, and then we become of awareness that it's of everything. And then we then die, because you graduate that essence of knowing that you did what you needed to be of everything and did what you needed to be. But those people that keep sitting here on a very long life and aren't passing away quickly, or have smoked till they've their last breath, or people have drank to the last sip, then you realize that there's so much more that people want to just be validated. But you can't be validated until you understand that you have to be you. And those addictions just prolong us from having that ability. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to die quickly because you've done the work and now you just die. That's not 100% how that works. It's literally, did you actually do everything that was asked of you? So I get this a lot from clients and friends, and extremely about family, of, Shanice, you think that this is like all what I need to be doing, or this is what you've said, or this is what has happened. And I said, this isn't about me, Shanice, a human wanting or needing. It's literally what is projected from you. And that's how I can do my readings, because you are literally a walking billboard of what you want to be doing. But there's so many layers that a lot of people are like, "Oh, no, this person's fine," or, "Oh, they're so happy together," or, "Oh, they are just the most miserable, horrible people in this world, and they don't know and never have happiness in their life." Everybody shadows and cloaks and jungles their whole existence. And then some people are like, "Well, how can you just know me as a complete stranger?" And I said, "It's simple, because the real you is right in front of me. It's the scared or wounded or unvalidated versions of ourselves that pretend they do a really good job to coax the world or manipulate the world or impression the world that this is what they are and this is what they need to do. We are all organisms that just seek and yearn for the quickest route of success, happiness. We're looking for the next fix because that's what we are. We're a mechanism of yearning for that. But when you find out that you are everything, then you stop seeking and yearning and going and being and needing everybody to show up, stand up, and be up everything that you need them to be. So, really sit with that in this journey moving forward, because I hope that really will give you then the discipline to acknowledge why you have to work and protect and express your pure selves. And that's why it's not about all of the ooga booga and the medicines and the magics and all these different things, because you are of it. You are whatever journey you're purely meant to be. Some people are the best freaking carpenters of their entire existences. People who are the best problem solvers, the best bakers, the best mothers, the best fathers, the best of their world and their existence, because they listened to their pure essence and said, I am this. I am of everything. So when you are pure to your mission, you don't have to yearn and fixate and wish upon a star that somebody else is going to, you could be somebody else's ease and excitement. Because when you get to be just pure on who you are, everything melts away and you start to just really align and delegate what's in your space and what's in your lanes. Then you get into that driver's seat and you have the abilities to go where you want to go. But you can't keep doing this because your parents didn't succeed at, or you promise that your grandparents on their deathbed that this is what you would do for them, or this is what you would be for them. Our ancestors have left this world to say and protect and be our guardian angels to allow us to be who we are today. All the wars, all the depression, all of the fights, all of the manipulations, the propaganda, the wrong choices, the right choices, whatever this way and layers in society has come up and down and all around, has allowed you to be in this time today. So stop trying to manipulate. Oh, if I could only be what my grandparents asked me to be. Oh, if I only could be what my dad wished me to be. Oh, if I could only be the size and the place and the being that my partner or friends or the society wants me to be. Stop. You are so neglecting every essence that you would do. So my whole version of when people are like, yeah, okay, Shanice, I get it, I get it. I turn it back to, if you saw a child starving on the side of the road and this child just needed to have water, and you wanted to feed it a peanut butter jelly sandwich, you wanted to give them clothes, you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that, and you start to suffocate this child. And they said to you, no, this is all I need. I just need water, pure, clean water. What is it about you trying to fixate and always know more or be more or do better? Because that inner child knows what it wants. It knows what it needs because that's what it was asked to do or asked to have. And that essence then flourishes because maybe they needed water to help its dry mouth and then have the abilities to say what it needs after it. But some people just take their experiences or their knowledge and then just push on an existence instead of just listening and having the wisdom of just saying, okay, I shall get you water. And then it has the drink of water and then can flourish into it. It's like trying to feed an infant steak as soon as it's out of its womb. You will starve the child to death because it's not what it needs. Do you love the prime rib on the Wednesday's special deals? Absolutely, but that's not what the kid needs right now. That's not what the purity needs right now. So instead of manipulating your mind into all these different aspects, go basic, go into exactly this is how I teach and work with people, is bring it back to a basic level. Would you do that to blah blah blah? Would you do that in that example? Because when you start to just have a bigger or a higher perspective of the bigger picture, then you can actually understand, oh, I get it. And I get that response all the time. And I also get, "You don't know what you're fucking talking about" response. But then after, people just need space, time, and energy to go back and rethink and regurgitate what I said, and then they come back and say, "I get it now." And it's not about proving that I'm right. I'm just being pure on what is being transparent or projecting from you. This is of you, you of everything. So when I just sit and listen and hear, or I don't even need to hear, some people say, "You don't even know my name. How can you start rattling off this stuff about me over the phone or over a Zoom or just sitting down for the first time and meeting this person?" It's because you show everything about you. It just takes a person to see you purely, and then it goes from there. And yes, it could be different layers and ways, and maybe timelines aren't in the exact same way. Because if you're trying to navigate and go through this journey, that's the gift of life. It will take you as long or as short as you need it to be. But stop making the excuses that everything isn't working out the way I wanted it to. Everything isn't happening the way that you said it would work out to, from the government, from the people, from this, from that, from family. Stop making the excuses and just sit down, purge out what's really struggling. So ask your inner self, your child, your pure essence of self, and say, I remove this expectation, this perception, and the delusion or the illusion that I have of myself. And I have diluted who my pure self is. I ask for that pure state of existence and essence to please show me clearly and deliberately in a safe and in the highest good way for me to allow this journey of pure to unfold in a way I can deliver for my highest good. And once you allow that space to just open, like even my stomach is just opening up because that's where your power center comes from, your solar plexus. It just is starting to shine. And I wore this shirt today that it says, create your own sunshine, for that reason. Because when you really truly believe in your essence, your sun, your light, your guidance within self, then you can resonate with other people. There's so many people that tell me, Shanice, I'm just not getting the following or the connections, or my family's not listening to me. Sometimes it's because you're not really saying what you need to say. You're not really being who you want to be. And then you just start to suffocate and snuff out this flame, this fire, your light. And that is why we do the work that we do. Collective campfires, retreats that have now turned into intensives, because we're not retreating back. We are just literally working and intensifying your space to say it's safe. Sessions, compass calls, all of these different tools that are around. We have the Healing Lodge. These are places for you to come and accept where you can be out of that ecosystem or that habitat, that environment that isn't sometimes the safest for you to really dive in deep and to then allow to explore and to ignite and to purge out what you need. And it's not that I give you a verbatim manual to go back and say, and at this point, mom and dad, this is how I will feel because this is what I was told to say. No, we don't do that work here. You have to do the work to come up and take that responsibility to say, this is how I want to stand up. And it's trial and error, baby. It is not anything that just gets to be handed over, but I will promise you that as you start to work and really navigate through that world of hurt and damage and neglect and really have that time to really connect with that light and that essence, you have the abilities to start fresh. Literally, I have it written here. 111 meaning is start fresh, new beginnings. It's a hello, I see you number and sign. So that, I hope, on this very special day, you start to combat and connect what things are really not in your highest good and what really needs to be in your heart today. Because this year has a gift more than I can even fathom or even put in humanly words today on what you all are needing to enjoy and what will be a part of your journey forever. But you have to really come up in that stance and true connection of your prayer to say, this is what I am here to do in my purest form. Because so many people are trying to say that they are authentic, they're real, they're this, they're that. And it's all of this world is starting to say, the love and light isn't enough. We are starting to say, what is pure? What is really feeling like that came from somewheres that is just pure gold, pure light, pure love, pure connection. And that is where you will see people connect with you. And if you don't have people wanting to connect, as our newly gifted saying from a very beautiful friend of ours says, rejection is for your protection. That is where, please understand that our angel said that that was a phrase that she had to live by forever, because sometimes you think it's for your highest good, but there's people that don't want to take that innocence and just step away and move away. And that's okay. You will understand why that needed to happen one day. And that's where patience will come in deeply. So, everybody take a nice deep breath and out. We are allowing some very clean, pure space in our guidance right now to help curate a healthy, responsible, disciplined structure and order in our life. And please allow us the patience it shall take for us to preserve and reclaim what is in our highest good. Hi, hi. Amen. This is where you come to the connection of your deepest wish and ask on today's 111 portal. Thank you so much for journeying us today at the Niche Nation. And if you are looking for more chances to be connected with us or want to book a stay or a healing experience, we would love to journey and be here with you today and every day forward, because this is where we are home to the highest good. And you have the purpose and the abilities to bring in everything that you are wishing and have it anchored into a prayer. We are not praying, we are in prayer for what is in your highest good today. Thank you all again. So much love. And we will catch you on another segment here very soon about what is 2024 and much more to come about our new acronyms, new discoveries, or even maybe it's just the old ways that really needed to be incubating till now. Thanks again. Take care and see you soon. Bye bye.